Hello, welcome to Arcade Couch, best place to chill with friends, get your gaming goodness each and every Monday. My name's Dylan Blight, and joining me in the hotel room, Ciaran Marching.
Hello, everybody. I'd like to announce this episode will be no longer than 62 minutes today. And if it gets to 62 minutes, we're already kind of fucked because we're late to check out of this hotel room. Because that's how organised we are here at Explosion Network.
Have you ever been late to check out?
I don't think so. Does it matter?
I have.
Have you?
Yep.
Like as in like you slept in, or
No, it's just like, what are they going to do?
what are they gonna do? Surely there's like surely there is some kind of grace period, right? There's surely like a 15 minutes before they have to like
I presume
give you a call to be like,
it depends on the hotel, how busy they are,
True.
how much they like you.
Sure. They like Dylan a lot, so that's fair.
So, and all those factors will come into play. But yeah, I mean, I was like 20 minutes, 30 minutes late once. I just wandered down.
Just like, hey, how you going?
Didn't pay anything. I just checked out.
Just checked out. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Nothing happened, you know. It's fine. We're in Melbourne for IEM 2025.
That
Sorry,
that was weird. You looked over at me and I was like, "Oh, he's throwing to me here." Okay, this is he's halfway through. He's halfway through a statement here, and he's just thrown to me. All right, let's we'll roll with that one.
I was looking for clarification.
Yeah, no, you're all right. You know where
we are recording on Sunday morning. The grand final is taking place tonight, so we won't exactly be able to talk about that. But overall thoughts on the event first, I guess. Like, just as a, we haven't. The last one they held was in Sydney, like 2-3 years ago. Of this last IEM, like this exact event was held in Sydney last.
Well,
time.
wasn't I thought the last one was a major though because it was at the Opera House.
We haven't had a major, no. It was the same as this.
Yeah, it was the same one. Okay,
yeah, it was the same as this. It was at the Opera House, but they held it there, and then they've held it there here this year. So just I guess as a as a sporting event, what have you thought? Crowd matches, the event itself, where they've chosen to hold it.
I guess the big difference is we've been to now a couple of these these events where Counter-Strike has been involved, but Counter-Strike isn't necessarily the main thing. And generally at Rod Laver, they take like a small portion up. Well, they'll have a small portion where there is, like maybe 1,000 seats, maybe 2,000 seats, if that. So to come to an event and not 100% knowing, and then
they're saying 9,000.
They're saying 9,000 is
what they keep saying on
is
the
what they keep saying.
So.
To walk up and to see that is really impressive, actually, for Australian esports or for esports in general. Yes, it is very helpful to have actual big name teams to be involved. Like maybe in some ways it was probably a little, not a letdown, but like a little underwhelming when like your bigger name teams haven't made it through to the playoffs, i.e. your Navis, your FaZe clans, that were, Complexity, that were all involved in the group stages. But I think in some ways now, going back to it, I think it's even better. Like now to see somebody who's been on the outskirts of CS esports, but never really been like massively following it, to come in and to learn about Team Falcon, who are this team that's come through up now, played 2 matches, have these big signings with Monacy, to hear about Monacy and Nico on that team being this kind of ongoing duo that's now reunited after being apart from different teams, and then seeing it play out in live is amazing. I think the event has been absolutely outstanding in terms of the crowd, in terms of the atmosphere of the games, and each game's had like a very different vibe. We've had different vibes throughout, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit more as we get to the actual games, but there's very much different. And so coming into the grand final today, I'm very excited. I think out of the teams we had in the playoffs, I think we do have like the best possible grand final. Hopefully, like I'm sure we'll talk about that more later.
It's always like the last the obviously DreamHack was the last thing we both went to at Rod Laver where they had some whatever I think it was just a put on event for I can't remember, but obviously they had some there, and recognizing some of the regulars is quite funny. Is we like, what do you reckon? Because Counter-Strike has always had the biggest audience for older esports. I know it's like obviously an older one,
Yeah.
but there does seem to be a big.
Well, I guess the thing is, like, as terms of esports, it's probably the easiest esport to understand, and it's the easiest esport to follow in terms of gameplay. So even for people who aren't necessarily interested, i.e. me and you, who aren't necessarily into Counter-Strike, like, it's easy for us to turn it to an event and follow it. I think it helps this being a big enough event where there were international teams that I know there are some people in the audience that have come from, like, I think there was somebody on the broadcast yesterday from Estonia, like, have traveled long distances to come and watch this. And I think, honestly, that's kind of what Australia needs to kind of kickstart its esports again, in esports scenes in a larger front. I guess, as we know, we've lost out on, like, the league has pulled out pretty much. The Valorant scene is more C focused. Same with the Dota scene. Like, most esports don't really have an OCE kind of scene at the moment. Marble Rivals is building, but it's nothing massive. So to see that play out and to see, hopefully more events like this, I think would go a really long way to building esports as a presence within the Australian, economy and within the society.
Sure.
No.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think I would agree on the ease of it's probably part of the audience factor. I think. Well, I would assume. Like, if you try to explain, if someone's like, "Hey, I might be sort of interested. I'll come watch whatever you're going to this weekend. Buy me an extra ticket. I'll come down with you." Like, just quickly explain the rules to me, and you can very quickly just be like, "It's 5-on-5. One team's trying to plant a bomb. The other isn't. You die very quickly in this game. It's sort of about." Like, but that's something like,
and that's without even getting into, each team has an X amount of money.
Yeah, that's not even
you don't have to go into
money.
it. Whereas if you have to explain League or Dota or like anything like that,
even if you take this and go look at Valorant, which in its premise is the same, but the second you start adding powers and
but it's like, okay, instead of them just buying a smoke grenade, this character has their version of that, and this character has their version of that, and there's this version, where it gets a little bit complex to discuss and to talk about, where I guess in terms of CS, like, it is the most raw in terms of mechanical talent, and it's probably in some ways like maybe 40 to, as we've seen in games, like, it's like maybe 40% like team strategy and team, like, kind of organization and buying things, but then it's a large part of you've got to hit your shots. We've seen so many people who have been in, like, so many pros that have been in the right spot to get kills and haven't got a kill because they've missed shots. And that's what's so vital and so important in this game, is you are good enough in the game mechanically to kill somebody when you're given the chance to do it.
Yeah, well, the one I think of, I can't remember the player's name, was yesterday. He whiffed his grenade off the map, and if he'd landed,
that was Magic's.
Yeah,
Magic.
If he landed, he would have known there was someone hidden behind the door. But then he just walked out and got killed. Obviously, you can't afford to just whiff a grenade off the map.
100%.
Like, what are you doing there? Match quality, I think day one quarterfinals a lot better than semifinals is the agreement.
100%.
We left early yesterday, which is the
well, I guess the quarterfinals being between Team Falcons and Gamer Legion, that game was more, I guess, for quality. Gamer Legion was there, but it was more about Team Falcons kind of presenting themselves and then this lineup to the audience, and it was kind of not maybe a showcase. Like, even though the scores for that game I think were 13-3, 13-4, those games felt a little closer in some ways, like, compared to the mouse game yesterday. But then there was the second game, which was the I guess you would say that it's been like that's the story game of the weekend. No matter what happens, that is the story game of the weekend. Team Liquid, this giant organization that's generally a crowd favorite, is all of a sudden against the crowd because they've dropped their Australian player going into this event. I think they were the ones that eliminated FlyQuest from being able to come through to this event, which is another Australian team. Them against Mongols, which is this kind of up and coming underdog Mongolian team that has an impressive fan base already and kind of liken themselves to it. So that game went, it's the only one so far that's gone to 3 maps. It had a lot of feeling to it. Even the third map was down to the wire. Yes, I'd say that game was the closest, maybe because both teams were making a lot of mistakes and probably the level of skill for the two teams within the Counter-Strike echelon probably is a bit low compared to the other ones in this team base, and we saw that. I think even watching that game, you kind of go, all right, knowing they're going into Team Vitality, which is this unbeaten team, who's this team that is here to play, like they're on this 20-game winning streak now. They're wanting to, if they win this tournament, they win the Grand Slam, which is, I don't know the exact like what you have to do to
What
get a Grand
events
Slam.
you have to
win in Counter Strike, but like this is a Grand Slam. If they win this, they win a literal bar of gold. Is what they'll win. So yeah, you kind of knew whichever team came out of it, Liquid and the Mongols, you knew that team was just going to go get pummeled by Vitality. Yeah, and then yesterday's games were the semifinals. Falcons versus Mouse. I have a feeling that Mouse just got caught out because, and it's the in any format, in any game, there is this kind of weird dichotomy of, okay, what would you prefer to do? Would you prefer to win, be in the top 2 and go straight through to the semifinals? Means you have a day off, but you get through, you only have to play technically 2 games to win the whole thing. But downside it always is, whoever team is coming in from the quarterfinals have already got momentum. They've already played in front of the crowd. They've already got this confidence built up. So you kind of run that risk of, all right, we've got to be kind of on our very best from the very start of this game and quell whatever momentum this other team has coming into this game. And I guess we saw the tale of two tapes yesterday because Mouse wasn't ready for it. They weren't ready to shut down Falcons, and Falcons were just too good for both maps that they played. They kind of just, especially the first map, was like insanely one-sided for Falcons. And kind of Mouse started to build into it, and they built into it a little bit more on Nuke, but it was never really a question either game of, okay, this is just Falcons game either way. But then you compare it to Team Vitality and versus Mongols, and that was just an utter battering. Like that was the crowd trying to, I think it was like 11-1 or something, or 10-1. Was the scoreline for the first half of the first map?
Yeah.
And that was the thing where I was like, I think this is, and I guess for us it was like, I think it's a good time for us to actually go bail for the night, go find something actually to eat because of the way the games are and the way Rod Laver is. It's a bit hard to actually get a decent dinner. So all right, we'll bail on this one because we know the second match, and we were checking.
I mean, the other reason is that just not wanting to go through the trams that we.
Yes, 100%. Also, getting on the trams and the
whole crowd
scrum of the crowd leaving, which it's not too bad, but at the same time, it just made sense. And the other, it was just from watching that first map, it was very obvious that Mongols weren't up to the standard that you needed to be to play against Team Vitality. And Team Vitality stepped up and were ready to play.
I do wonder, as to what you were saying before, I do wonder sometimes, obviously the teams who have practiced or been on stages before versus the ones that haven't, because if you compare it to a traditional sport, I guess, you would still play football in front of 50 people before you play in front of 5,000. You know what I mean? But if you're you're potentially just playing.
But I guess it's even the thing of it, I guess maybe with esports, it's probably a little different to conventional, because AFL crowds are crowds, or for soccer crowds are crowds, and you play against home teams, away teams. In events like this, you're turning up and playing in front of a crowd. you probably don't have you don't have a feel or have much of idea of what the crowd's going to be like.
A very fucking loud crowd.
Yeah, and this is the thing. You turn up to Australia, and Australia is this really loud, boisterous crowd that is singing chants and making like as much noise as possible for the entire event, like across the board. For Team Liquid, we were partially going for Team Liquid, and I felt bad for them. And they were rightfully the villains, but when you have the majority of 9,000 people screaming "fuck you, Liquid," like for majority of the match, even if you can't fully hear it, like that's got to be. And even the Liquid players that were at the event yesterday, there was still chants of "fuck you, Liquid" going on during the Mongols versus Vitality game. Probably because they didn't have much else to cheer about. But
I feel like it's the most Australian thing I've seen is that one dude they interviewed and asked about him on the stream was like exactly how it played out. It's like because the Mongols crowd favorite, and you're like, why? Obviously, they have a lot of fan base here in Melbourne. We saw them gather to the side of the area we were in the semifinals, but then the rest of the crowd that weren't there for them were like, well, fuck it. They've already got a bunch of people cheering for them. They're playing against the team that beat our team, so we're now with them. And there was that one dude they interviewed on the stream yesterday. I was like, "You a Mongols fan?" He's like, "Nah, but everyone's cheering for him and fuck Liquid."
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
It was pretty funny. So, it was they got their ass handed to them though yesterday. Overall, how do you feel about the idea of the crowd was chanting several times yesterday, "Give us the major," or "Give us a major," or whatever the hell that was saying.
The major, yep. Also, just general tip for everybody, really helpful, get the words right. When you're chanting with the crowd, get the words right. Just learn what the crowd's saying.
And stay in sync.
Yeah, stay in sync.
So they want a major. Do you think that we have anywhere near of a chance or of that being ticked by Steam / Valve's approval to bring a major to Australia?
I hope so.
9,000 people.
Like 9,000 people. You sold out the show. You've got this massive, and that's the thing.
Got a loud crowd.
I think that's the thing is I think it's just the crowd. I think that's the crowd will get it across the line, because I think I've seen events where like France has had, and like the French audience is generally really amazing in terms of these kinds of showing up to these events, and they sing and they do lots of stuff to support their teams. I think it's even great. It's even great to see this crowd at this event with no Australian representation in the actual event, in the playoffs. It just shows that people are willing to show up. People are willing to be there. Fuck, you took Rod Laver and you sold it out. You sold all of your tickets. Probably could fit more people in there. Yes, there was some empty gaps in their places. They could
only at the front, like they have these gaps,
the sides and the sides, and
we're supposed to be in like a media area, which they gave up protecting, which is pretty funny.
Yep.
But I think that's where and the other side I think is the same actually.
Yes.
So the two front areas were meant to be left for media / people wanting
with
like
credentials
photos or whatever.
We've had players sat around us from different
like the bit, like all that sort of stuff. So, but I think so. That looking across from us where we've been sitting and seeing that empty, that makes sense to me. But there is some areas like the top around, like I don't know.
Yeah, there's like the very top like tier. There's some space. Like there's definitely space for more people to sit. Probably could fit maybe another.
And I guess they say they sold it out, but it's like, is everyone there for all the days?
Yeah, 100%. Right? Like
it'll be interesting to see today. Obviously, the loudest
should be the grand final, right? Should be the most people there.
But the team that everyone's rooting for is gone. So are they all the Mongols?
No, because I honestly think Falcons has built up. And this is the beauty of the Falcons.
They're the underdogs now.
They're the underdogs. Yeah. I think it's also the beauty of Falcons playing 2 games in front of this crowd leading up to the 3rd game is they've built a connection with the crowd. They've built a connection with the audience for them to cheer for them and to know them. I think it helps when you know the players and you know the style and you know what to expect. I think it'll be really interesting to see how loud the crowd is in this best of 5, how well it's going to go play out. I think it's very much going to be interesting to see how it plays out and how it rolls forward.
I do love how they bring them through the crowd and everything too. They don't just bring them out. They get like proper epic music entrance. The teams get to walk through the crowd, and
Yep.
it's not just walk out from behind the stage.
Yeah.
The Australian sort of thing helps build that interest.
It made me laugh yesterday. I don't know if you noticed this, but Team Vitality, as soon as they went from standing in front, they went around to their desk. First thing the Captain Apex does is quickly go grabs a bottle of hand sanitizer and like sprays everybody's hands.
No, I
You
didn't
know,
do that.
because they've just walked through the
Yeah.
crowd and had to high five everybody,
everyone, yeah.
which is very. I was like, you know what, that makes sense.
That's
That
fair.
checks out.
Yeah.
Yep.
I want to get COVID and be stuck here.
No, 100%.
Like that, you know.
Not a bad place to be stuck. As he looks out the window, okay, Melbourne's weather has not
Melbourne's weather has not put on for me.
put on for Dylan at all this weekend. It sucks, but
Landed,
Yeah.
raining. Saturday, raining. Sunday, raining.
Most likely,
Chances shower.
it's probably gonna rain. Yeah,
Message you as soon as I land on my plane. Landed. Of course, it's fucking raining.
yes, yeah.
Left has he? Not raining. You know what?
Yeah, it's Melbourne. That's what it does.
What I'm saying is that whenever people are like, yeah, Tassie and Melbourne's the exact same weather all the time. No. There is a gap of sea between us. It's not exactly the same. It's similar patterns, but it's not exactly the same. Who are we rooting for today?
I'm Team Falcons, to be honest,
Yeah,
all the way.
I'm thinking
There's something about Monacy,
the underdogs.
Nico. I think he's
Also, they're the team we've watched live the most.
The team we watch live the most. I like the way they play. I like the vibes. I don't know. I think they're just very fun to watch. So
I like how that was massaging Nico's shoulders, and I appreciate that team effort I saw.
yeah, like it was. Like yeah, I think we've seen the most of them, so it's easy enough to get behind them. Like it's very funny. I kind of wish, and this is maybe like a weird wish that I'm like, I wish they were just backed by a bigger organization. Yes, of course, there's been the words that like Monacy's kind of contract is millions of dollars, but yes, they're probably backed by some Eastern European giant or juggernaut. We get that. I get that. But there's something big about these legendary teams like Navis and your Complexities and your OGs and stuff like that. That I just wish they were supported by one of those. But other than that, yeah, unless they could just build up to Falcons being that. So yeah,
Who does support them?
I don't know. It'll be some big Eastern European company or person or something that just started the Team Falcons organization. I don't know, Falcons. I'm sorry, but I love you. I really like you. I support you. Your logo kind of sucks. Like it's just a green shape.
Well, they had that in the intermission thing. They did like duos, give instructions and draw it. And one of them, they tried to make two of the players give instructions to draw their own logo. And it was like, I have no idea what the fuck this is supposed to be. And then they reveal its logo. It's like, oh, so how do you draw that massive a thing?
Exactly. And that's the other thing. Like, I'd like to be able to buy a Falcons jersey, but I was like, don't think they're selling them in the merch because I don't think they're big enough to have merch there. But also,
maybe if they win.
Yeah, exactly, right? Maybe if they win.
You brought your one piece of merch too.
I did. I bought my FlyQuest Yeah the Boys scarf. I was like, it's also probably the cheapest thing in the...
I feel like you could wear that to anything too, and it's like,
It kind of actually it is yellow. It's like Australian yellow color. No, I don't know. I'm just thinking I'll probably try and display it somewhere in my background at home, but I don't know how. Because scarves are slightly annoying, but I'll figure it out.
Just put some nails for both ends.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. That's the end of that. Let's run through a couple normal news stories.
Normal news stories.
Not a lot's happened, but just to do it. Firstly, Ghost of Yota will be released October 2nd. Excited?
Big. Yeah, 100%. Especially when you look at if you go to the PlayStation blog that Andrew Goldfarb wrote and kind of talked about a little bit more, you see one of the big things that they talk about is the team's understanding and acknowledgement that Ghost of Tsushima had a lot of repetitiveness to it, and that probably just let down the gameplay a little bit. They're very aware of that, and they're trying to avoid that in Ghost of Yotei. I'm excited for it. I think Erika Ishii's voice acting sounds really fucking good in the trailers. It's very funny, and I guess it's a very a Japanese trope to have X amount of masked individuals that have killed somebody of importance.
Yeah, so I mean, the other thing, just quickly, is that in the new synopsis thing, that basically her family's killed, she's left for dead, and then years later, she's now trying to hunt down a list of 6 names: the snake, the oni, the kitsune, the spider, the dragon, and Lord Sato.
The kitsune's a fox.
Yeah, but it's
I'm just saying that's what the fox is. It's kitsune.
It's like a tanuki's
like a tanuki's a fucking giant furry bald raccoon. Yeah.
But yeah, it is a very tropey, hunt down, kill 6.
But the thing is,
to the point, I've been playing Assassin's Creed still. It's exactly the same plot in that.
It's the same plot, but I also know I'm just gonna have a better time in Ghost of Yotei. Yeah. And this is the thing. This is where, and you feel a little bad for Assassin's Creed Shadows. People are gonna play Ghost of Yotei and be like, "Hey, this is what Shadow should have been. It should have just been a single protagonist, and it should have just been this." And this is the thing. I think this Ghost of Yotei will be in terms of narratively, if you broke down the blocks, probably very similar to AC Shadows, just without the weight of Ubisoft and Ubisoft game design. And that's the biggest thing. I enjoy Assassin's Creed Shadows, but at the same time, I was already getting very over the amount of minor crap there is on the map that doesn't feel that great to do and doesn't excite me to go do it. But in my monkey brain head, I'm like, I have to do it. I can't just not do it. I have to go explore this thing, or I get to you get to a waypoint, and then it's like, oh, this waypoint is also a fortress. So I'm like, oh, I have to clear the fortress now. I have to make sure, I have to kill the castle now and get the legendary chest at the same time. I have to do it. So yeah, I'm excited for Sucker Punch. Sucker Punch tells such great stories, not just their main story, but the side stories that are in the game. I'm just overall super excited to play it.
Yeah, I'm very keen. Collector's edition announced too.
Mm-hmm.
Cool mask.
Cool mask?
Well. It comes with a cool mask.
Is it just the half-face mask?
Yeah. They're similar. They did a mask thing for the last one with Jin's mask.
Yep.
So it's this time it's her mask.
For Jin Sakai. Yeah. What name? I love Jin Sakai.
The biggest release and news of the week, though, Elder Scrolls 4, I know I said Morrowind. Oblivion got a remaster after leaks basically the week before, developed by Virtuos, who are the team who's putting out the Metal Gear Solid Delta remake later this year as well.
Insane.
Yeah. A, do you care to play this at all? And then B, and I already know the answer to this, but I just want you to say it. Do you feel like this overshadowed the release of Expedition 33 a little bit?
Dylan, audience members, we should not be talking about this week. We should have either been talking about this 2-3 weeks ago, or in a month's time, or in 2 months' time, or just at any point where there was a gap where there was nothing that big releasing, you should have just chucked it in there. You shouldn't be shadow dropping it at the same time as this amazing, masterful, indie driven game that you have ties to and you have on your Game Pass. Yes, I can.
Have had in all their showcases.
That you've had in all your showcases. Why are you doing this? Yes, we'll be talking about Clair Obscur Expedition 33 next week, once Dylan's had a proper chance to play it. Once I can play even more of it, because it's a fucking masterpiece. But no, this game shouldn't be. If this game, and I played it for maybe an hour the day it was released, because Clair Obscur hadn't been released yet, so that was sweet. I got an hour of that. But Oblivion's my favorite Elder Scrolls. Probably one of my favorite Western RPGs ever.
I have such great memories of that game. I have such great memories of its stories and of the various side quests. Like I love the Thieves Guild quest line in this game, and the Dark Brotherhoods. But just pick a better time, Microsoft. Somehow you're releasing great IPs or great remakes and great things on your Game Pass, but still finding a way to fumble. How are you doing this? Like, I just wish for both Microsoft's sake and for the team behind Expedition 33, which I don't, you know what, the crazy thing is, I don't even think this has affected Expedition 33 that much because the statistics coming out about that game, 500,000 copies sold when it's on fucking Game Pass and they've sold that.
Doing well, but I guess my question is always going to be,
doing better.
Could it be doing better?
Could it be doing better if Oblivion wasn't there? Yeah, I wish they'd been given room to breathe. I think they've done the Oblivion remake very well. Games looks very pretty, looks very well done. They've managed to remaster the game / remake the game, but without removing a lot of its charm and quality. Like they've left in I don't know if there's the legendary. There's one character whose voice lines they fucked up, and they've actually left the audio of that person redoing the line in the game. They didn't take that out. It's still in this game. So there's so much still there. It's just better time, better place to release this. Like even if you thought of why the fuck wouldn't they just wait for Summer Games Fest and just fucking shadow drop the shit out of it at Summer Games Fest?
When the leak started happening, I was like, oh yeah, Summer Game Fest is when they'll just drop it then.
Just turn around to Jeff Keighley and be like, hey Jeff, we're gonna announce Elder Scrolls Oblivion remake on your show, and you get to shadow drop it. He'd fucking cream his pants. Be all over it. He'd be so excited. But
shadow drop it over the top of Death Stranding 2 or some shit. I don't know.
Let's not do that.
If they want to fight, like if that's what's wanted to.
You don't fight that one. You just. The thing is, right? Elder Scrolls shouldn't be a let's fight with this. It should just be a let's fucking go. Like we're launching. Let's go, baby. Maybe I don't know. Maybe there's stuff in the background where it's like because of Metal Gear Solid Delta, the team are like, hey, we need to launch this earlier so we can focus on it before the launch of Delta. So we can focus on that when that happens, of course, with bugs or any issues that come out of it. I don't know how big the studio is that's working on it. They're working on the remakes. But yeah, it's disappointing because Clair Obscur Expedition 33, amazing game.
But ain't going to get picked up off that title alone. Because it's a mouthful.
Fucking mouthful. That's why I just, other than like now when I'm saying it, I just say Expedition 33 because it just makes sense.
You know, you're like, do you want to go home and play some Clair Obscur Expedition 33? Or
just gonna
Oblivion remake?
Yeah, but then you're like, hey, it's French and there's really cool turn-based combat with timed button presses so it's active. And great music and a great story. And the main character is played by Charlie Cox, or at least one of the main characters is played by Charlie Cox, but looks exactly like Robert Pattinson. So it's kind of like you're getting the best of both worlds. Yeah, there's a lot to it.
Yeah, I definitely feel there's something annoying to me about just we have an influx of remakes now, and like and it seems to be, you know, you see people only getting excited about new like remakes, and I'm like, okay, all you're doing is just playing the same shit. If you're not trying new games like Clair Obscur or whatever, what are you going to be playing in 10 years from now? Like, you're just playing remakes of the remakes? Like, what are you getting excited about?
Well, it's even with studios and this is where like I was not a fan of the amount of times The Last of Us Part 2 has been remastered / re-released by Sony within the short span. It's fucking ridiculous. Why are you doing this? What like, I get it. It was a meme with Skyrim. I bought Skyrim 5 times. But like we're at a point where yes, and I'll go on more about Clair Obscur.
As much as Grand Theft Auto sold, they only did one
edition. Yeah,
or whatever. They did that like at first person, the next gen version, whatever. So
yeah, and it's what a weird year. You know what's funny? I'd almost say, and this will be more in the conversation next week.
I'd almost I'd be very okay already if GTA 6 fucked off from this year. Went into next year. Just delay that shit. Because this year's been massive already. This year's huge.
Yeah. I mean,
We don't need GTA 6 this year. Go take your time. Go release it like March next year, boys.
if it releases, it's going to be releasing, I guess, around the same time as Ghost,
Everything.
like October.
Ghost of Yote. Death Stranding's going to be out around then, right?
No, June. Ghost.
Oh, it's June with Death Stranding. Okay, fair enough. But like, yeah, shit's
Whatever
crazy.
the big Call of Duty and whatever else. will be
Yeah,
out
whatever.
there, so.
Yeah, 100%. Like it's it crazy. It crazy this year.
I know you don't particularly care, but I think it's just worth pointing out, just out of intrigue, that Nintendo Switch 2 pre-orders went up in America finally this week. Sold out. Gone.
That's the thing, right? How is it such a clusterfuck in America, but then here we were pre-ordering the day it was announced, and there was no issues. I didn't hear anybody complaining. I didn't hear anybody missing out. Maybe it's maybe we'll hear the story about later. And this is the thing I've always been like, I could probably just chuck in a pre-order and see if I get one now. But like, yeah,
I don't know. More people, obviously, is the number one thing.
yes,
If they have the exact same amount or whatever. Did the Trump tariff delay affect the amount of consoles they're willing to
to send there.
send? I don't know. Like there's all these things. It is one of the weirdest launch things we're having happen in recent years, where a console pre-orders went live, and then in America they're like, but not here yet because the president's put tariffs up, and we're not sure
Yeah,
if he's going to wake up on the right side of bed tomorrow. So,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
so weird. That's where we live in. Yeah. So, it's still available. Like, if you click links, you can still go pre-order it here in Australia.
100%.
So I don't know if that just says people
thing
don't
is, I
care
think-
here, or it's just.
I think the smart thing about maybe the bigger corporations here, and maybe the pre-ordering, you kind of just assign you allocate your stock to wherever shit's been ordered.
Well, yeah, that was the. I know when I pre-ordered at JB, they said they were doing the pre-orders differently for this. Apparently, that's what the dude was telling me, that they were only getting sent what people pre-order in the first wave, and they weren't getting any excess. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, which is fair. Makes sense.
Whereas the other way, sometimes places used to do, it's like, we've allocated your store 20.
Yes,
20 people come
the first
pre-order.
20, the first 20 that come in,
Yeah, so now
they
it's
get
just
theirs. Yeah,
25 people come pre-order, we're sending you 25. But
Yeah.
none to sit on the shelf for
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like that just makes sense.
Yeah, because most people who are going to pick something like a new console up on day one,
You're
A
gonna
pre-order,
pre-order it.
right?
You're not
Like,
gonna fucking stroll in and be
you're
like,
not strolling in and be like, I'm on my lunch break. Yeah.
Excuse me, on my lunch break, just decided I'm gonna pick up a Nintendo Switch 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
And if you did, you're a complete weirdo. All right, final story for this week. Press Start writes, it's been announced that Sydney Sweeney, the star of Anyone But You, Euphoria, and Madam Web, is set to co-lead the upcoming film adaptation of Split Fiction, the critically acclaimed third title from Joseph Fares and Hazelight Studios. Sources have told Variety that it's uncertain at this stage which of Mio or Zoe she'll portray. However, if we're going on looks alone, you'd expect she'd favour to be Zoe, the more docile of the leads. Attached to the film is John M. Chu, who is coming fresh off Wicked and its sequel, while the screenplay is being handled by Deadpool and Wolverine's writers Reet Reese and Paul Wernick.
I don't like the descriptor of the most docile of the film. I don't think she's docile. I think she's just not. I just think her problems are more like what she's dealing with the character and how she approaches things. She's just, I wouldn't call it docile.
Well, this is all on you. I still haven't obviously played the game, which I'll say now. I said to, I was telling Kieran before, but I said to Ash last week that I reckon at this stage, me and him just try and stream it. So the twitch.tv/Explosion for our once in every 6 month stream. Do you reckon she looks more like the character? I mean, they put a picture here. Is that
like she is the 100%. Like as soon as I saw that yesterday with Sydney Sweeney being announced, I was like, oh well, she clearly plays the British fantasy character. she isn't gonna fit into the other role very well. Like, and I think it would be doing a disservice for her to be cast as the other role, because there is a lot of cultural links and stuff to that role. Like,
What's the other character? What, like, ethnicity?
I think she's either she's obviously Latina. Like,
Okay,
she's Latina,
right, okay.
so it's from that side of things. So yeah, and I think a part of
She's the one that's
story-
into sci-fi then. Is
yes,
it?
yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
Very fast. Like the game
Very
came out like a
fast.
month ago.
but I think obviously, it's an amazing. Like, to be honest, and this is why I can't wait for you guys to play it. Even better if I get to watch you play it, because
It's very funny coming off your hate train for It Takes
I fucking that's the thing, right? I only despised It Takes Two for its narrative choices and
I
how.
just hated that elephant scene.
No, the elephant thing's very funny, and it's not the last time you see that elephant. But
Well,
it's I was just so against the narrative choice and the message of the end of that game is that was so put me off it. That was just frustrating. But this game, absolutely amazing. The way that they use the story and the narrative, involve it in the gameplay mechanics, and how fucking like once in a generation they use that mechanic is so fucking good. It's so good. People, if you haven't played it, go find a friend. If not, somehow play with 2 controllers. You can do it.
not sure if it's possible. I think this bodes potentially for one of the biggest video game adaptations. Wicked, one of the biggest films, if they promote it based off like the people that brought you Wicked, and then Sydney Sweeney's a big star, she'll get audience.
The budget for this movie has to be massive.
Yeah, well,
because there's no way, right? There's fucking no. It's gonna be a lot of green screen. It's got to be a lot of fucking CG and special effects, and they've got to be really good. If it's shit and half-assed, it's gonna be bad.
I mean, I'd expect it to have the money, like with
Just because you're, and of course they've got to capture, like, you're bouncing around between different.
I don't know if they wouldn't do. Here's the thing: without having played it, they'll probably cut. They will I don't know.
Bunch.
I don't know how many levels.
But
whatever.
they've got a bunch. But it's like it's just going to be how do they capture the story moments in the different worlds and in the different environments. And as long as they do it well, and you know what, compared to another gameplay, a game adaptation that you and me have just watched, as long as they don't just take like
Until Dawn, right?
Yeah, Until Dawn. Yeah, we just watched Until Dawn. As long as they can like capture, like somebody actually play the fucking game and play like and take what's amazing and interesting about the game and put it into your movie. Don't just do Until Dawn where it sounds like somebody read the title of Until Dawn and was like, got it.
Well,
boom.
Since I kind of forgot, and before we finish this episode, Until Dawn, we watched that. What was your rating on that?
Fucking the solid 5.5 to a 6. At tops, at best.
I'll say this. I would agree. I don't think it's very good. I know most of your problems, I think, seem to be from it. Like, just it doesn't adapt the game very well. But for obvious reasons, by the time you get to the end, we'll say you were getting. You watch a lot less horror movies than me.
I do.
A lot
100%.
less. And I would see like something gruesome, and I'd just be sitting there watching. It wouldn't have enough for me, and I'd hear you next to me going.
What the fuck? Yeah, that's the thing, right?
And every now and then, just hear something would happen, and I'd hear, "Oh fuck!"
No, I don't watch that many horror, but I think modern horror, and especially horror, and this is where maybe because I don't watch I would call it like the off the beaten track horror movies that you watch, where it's like not the mainstream ones. I think mainstream horror just feasts upon, hey, we've got to show as many gruesome deaths as possible. And yes, in the watching of it, it is confronting.
Mainstream horror is usually just jump scares. Like, mainstream horror these days is usually like all the Conjuring movies and
But even then, like, So this movie just felt like, oh, we're going to try and kill our characters as many different ways as possible. Okay, cool. But I feel like that desire to want to kill the characters in as many ways possible almost ruined the movie for me. Like, looking back at it and then watching it, cool. But then you have that moment afterwards where you're like, it's kind of made every death seem less valuable, or like kind of.
You know they're coming back.
Yeah, you know they're coming back. You know, when the characters start free willy resorting to suicide in moments, but there doesn't seem to be any real psychological effect on them for that. Even the promising moments early in the movie where it looks like characters are going to have psychological distrust of each other or kind of unhinged psychological moments, and then nothing. And then it just doesn't result to anything. There's no characters betraying each other. There's no kind of...
Yeah, this was my biggest problem. By the end of the film, their level of fear or psychological warfare or whatever they've been through didn't seem to. They try and do a quick scene to explain they're forgetting things or whatever else.
Yeah.
But even after they realize that, they're like, "Oh fuck, it's crazy we're forgetting things." Not like, "Oh my god."
That's the thing, right? Isn't it bad that if you're forgetting things, how doesn't that then disconnect the rest of the story where it was like people only survived this many deaths and this many things, but it's like, but if they're not remembering half of it,
They're tracking off they're writing their name in a book.
Yeah.
I thought it was okay. The story had problems as far as
the thing is, I didn't want it to be a 1-for-1 recreation of Until Dawn. I would just want them to take what made Until Dawn very special as a video game and try and redo that in the movie in terms of having this underlying teen or inter-character relationships. And, as I said to you yesterday, though, the best thing about Until Dawn is you don't actually realize there is something supernatural going on, or you kind of get bait and switched a bit throughout the game until the later third of the game. So I wish they had just done something to attempt to reignite that and recapture that in this movie, rather than straight off the bat be instantly
come back again.
Supernatural.
Somehow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'll say my favorite moment, because it was actually a good it was a good practical effect, and your reaction was quite funny. It was when there's a character gets a leg blown off in the film.
Oh, that was fucked.
Yeah.
No, that was even.
And I'm sitting there going, my brain again. I think just because I watched something, I'm like, oh, that's a good. I'm going, that's a good practical effect in my mind. And I just hear you next to me like, ugh.
No, it was because they'd set up what was happening to the characters.
That was probably the best.
That was the best section.
That was probably the best section of the movie.
The best section of the movie, because of just out of nowhere everything happened, and that was just because without spoiling it, it was like, okay, this character did a lot of X, so that's why this happened. Cool. They've only done a little bit. What happens to somebody who's only done a little? Oh, fuck. Okay, that's much worse. I'd rather have done a lot than done a little bit. That's fucked up. Yeah, 100%.
It's good. That was the best part of the movie, I reckon. All right, that'll do it for this week's episode of Arcade Couch, live from Melbourne. Stay tuned to find out. I guess, well, you'll know by the time you're listening to this what team won the grand finals here at IEM Melbourne 2025. But yeah, it's been a good event. Always good to see Explosion Network people face to face. Record about 2 or 3 podcasts live face to face a year, usually, something like that. But yeah, let us know if you've been watching the show. Let us know any thoughts on stuff that you've had this week. Check out explosionnetwork.com. Follow us on Blisky at explosionnetwork.com. And check out our TikTok, Explosion Network. Been posting stuff over there, or our Instagram as well, at ExplosionPod. Till next week, goodbye.
Also, we have 30. Oh, you've paused. You haven't paused? Cool.
Whatever you want to say.
No, I was going to say, we have 12 minutes to check out.
See, I had my...
No,
Don't stress. It's fine.
I'm stressing.